They say loyalty is the most valuable currency in business. But I learned the hard way that to some CEOs, loyalty is just a line item on a spreadsheet, one they can delete whenever they want. I gave 10 years of my life to Vortex Solutions. I built their proprietary trading algorithm from scratch. I worked weekends, missed birthdays, and even canceled my own honeymoon to fix their servers. I made them millions. So when I walked into my CEO's office to ask for a meager $5 an hour raise to cover my sick mother's medical bills, I expected a yes. Instead, she laughed in my face. She told me I was lucky to even have a job and that coders like me were a dime a dozen. She thought she held all the cards. She thought I was just another desperate employee who would take the abuse and go back to his desk. But she forgot one thing. I didn't just write the code, I owned the patent. And by the time she realized her mistake, I was already sitting in the boardroom of her biggest rival, signing a deal that would wipe her company off the map. This is the story of how a $5 insult cost a CEO her entire empire. My name is David, and I am, or I used to be, the lead developer at Vortex Solutions. We were a mid-sized financial tech company that provided software to Wall Street banks. Our CEO, a woman named Ms. Sterling, inherited the company from her father. She had never written a line of code in her life. She drove a Porsche, wore designer suits, and treated the staff like furniture. For years, I kept my head down. I loved the work. I had built a system called the Oracle. It was an AI-based prediction engine that helped banks make smarter trades. It was the crown jewel of the company. Without it, Vortex was just another consulting firm. When I first built the Oracle, M. Sterling's father was still in charge. He was a fair man. He knew the value of intellectual property. He signed a contract stating that while Vortex had exclusive rights to use the software, the underlying patent remained in my name until the company paid me a buyout clause of $2 million. They never paid it. The father died. Ms. Sterling took over, and the contract gathered dust in a filing cabinet. Fast forward to last month. My mother was diagnosed with a heart condition. The medication was expensive, and my insurance didn't cover all of it. I did the math I needed. Just a small bump in my salary, about $5 more an hour to make ends meet without drowning in debt. I wasn't asking for a yacht. I was asking for survival. I booked a meeting with Ms. Sterling. I prepared a presentation showing how much money the Oracle had generated for the company, over $40 million in pure profit. Over the last 3 years, I walked into her office confident. She was on her phone scrolling through Instagram. She didn't look up. "Make it quick." "David, I have a lunch reservation at 12:30. She said. I cleared my throat. "Ms. Sterling, as you know, I've been the lead developer here for a decade. The Oracle system is performing better than ever. However, due to some personal family medical issues, I'm requesting a salary adjustment. I'm asking for an increase of $5 an hour." She stopped scrolling. She slowly lowered her phone and looked at me with a mix of confusion and amusement. "$5?" she repeated. "Yes, Mom. It would help me cover my mother's." She cut me off with a laugh, a loud, cackling laugh that echoed in the glass office. "David, David, David!" she sighed, shaking her head. "Do you think this is a charity? You are already paid. Market. Rate. Actually, I think we pay you too much. I could hire 3 fresh graduates for your salary and they wouldn't complain about their mothers." I felt my face get hot. With all due respect, those graduates couldn't maintain. The Oracle, I built it. She stood up and leaned over the desk. "You built it on my time using my electricity in my building. You are a tool. David, a hammer doesn't ask the carpenter for a raise. Now get out of my office before I decide to replace you with someone who knows their place." She waved her hand dismissively and went back to her phone. I stood there for a moment. I looked at the woman who was profiting millions off my brain, refusing me pennies to save my mother. Something inside me snapped, but I didn't yell. I didn't flip the table. I simply smiled. "Understood. Ms. Sterling," I said, Thank you for clarifying my value. I walked out of her office. I didn't go back to my desk to work. I went to the legal department archives. I found my original contract, the one her father signed. I made a copy. Then I went to my computer. I didn't delete the code that would be illegal. Instead, I wrote a resignation letter. Effective immediately, I packed my bag, walked out the front door, and got into my Honda Civic. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I had saved for a long time. It was the CEO of Nexus Tech, Ms. Sterling's biggest rival. "Hello," a voice answered Mr. Thorne. I said, "This is David, the creator of the Oracle. Am currently a free agent."
"And I'm bringing the patent with me. Are you interested?" There was a pause. "I'll clear my schedule. Can you be here in 20 minutes? The meeting with Nexus Tech was very different. Mr. Thorne didn't laugh. He listened. He looked at my contract. He looked at the patent documents. "So," Mr. Thorne said, leaning back, "if I hire you and we pay this buyout clause, Vortex Solutions loses the right to use the software?" "Correct," I said. "Their license is tied to my employment or the buyout. Since I am no longer employed there and they refuse to pay the buyout, the rights revert to me. I can sell them to whoever I want." Mr. Thorne smiled. It was a shark's smile. "David, how does a starting bonus of $200,000 sound, plus a salary double what you were making?" "It sounds perfect," I said. We signed the deal that afternoon. The next morning, the chaos began. Ms. Sterling arrived at her office at 10 a.m. holding a Starbucks latte. She probably expected to see me at my desk, head down, accepting my defeat. Instead, she found a cease and desist letter on her desk. It was from Nexus Tech's lawyers. It stated that Vortex Solutions was illegally using proprietary software owned by Nexus Tech. They had 24 hours to shut down the Oracle or face a lawsuit for $50 million. I heard the story later from my old colleagues. Ms. Sterling reportedly screamed so loud she was heard in the parking lot. She called IT. She told them to block the transfer, but the IT guys told her the truth. "We can't block it. David owns the keys. The code is already locked." She tried to call me. My phone blew up with calls, texts, and voicemails. "David, this is a misunderstanding. We can discuss the raise. I'll give you $10 an hour. Just come back." I didn't answer. I was too busy setting up my new office at Nexus Tech. Within a week, Vortex Solutions began to crumble. Without the Oracle, their banking clients couldn't make predictions. They started canceling contracts left and right. They moved their business to Nexus Tech, where the software was working perfectly. Ms. Sterling tried to sue. She claimed I stole company property. But the judge took one look at her father's contract and threw the case out. The wording was clear. Failure to pay the buyout results in loss of rights. She had saved $5 an hour, but in doing so, she lost her company's only competitive advantage. 6 months later, Vortex Solutions filed for bankruptcy. They were liquidated. The office building was sold. I heard Ms. Sterling had to sell her Porsche. She's currently facing lawsuits from her own investors for gross negligence. As for me, my mother got her surgery. She's recovering well, and I'm currently leading a team of 20 developers who treat me with respect. Sometimes when I drive past the old empty Vortex building, I think about that lunch reservation she was so worried about. I hope she enjoyed it, because it was the most expensive lunch in corporate history.